Basketball season is quickly coming to a close, and the CU men's and women's teams are trying to make their last few games count.
That's right, Mallory, and we're going to give you the whole rundown on women's soccer, spring football, and women's lacrosse.
Sports Mag starts right now. Hey Buff fans, and welcome to another exhilarating edition of CU Sports Mag. I'm Mallory Chris, and sitting alongside of me for the first time on this desk is the handsome Steve Nelson.
Oh, please, you're too kind. It is certainly going to be a great show today. The Buffs had a busy week appearing in everything from basketball to track and field. But today, we're kicking things off with a look at the men's basketball team. Wednesday, Tad Boyle and his Buffaloes traveled to Eugene, Oregon to meet the Ducks on the hardwood. Colorado started late, falling behind 39-22 at the half, but got a big boost from junior center Josh Scott, who finished the game with 17 rebounds and 10 points. Those boards were a season high for Scott, who has now played in 4 straight games since returning from his back injury. But it was a strong night on his boards, and it wasn't enough to stop a very amazing Oregon team, led by Joseph Young. The redshirt junior led the Ducks with 23 points and 6 assists. He was aided by forward Elgin Cook, who contributed 13 points to a Ducks team that dropped 73 points. Oregon now sits third in the Pac-12 standings, while CU drops to 9th. Colorado has now dipped below 500 this season to 12-13 and will round out their Oregon road trip with a game in Corvallis. That game will be played on Pac-12 networks on Saturday, February 21st.
We can take a look at that final box score. Colorado ended up losing to Oregon 60-73 for the Buffaloes. Askia Booker had 20 points and 7 rebounds, and Josh Scott with a double-double, 10 points, 17 rebounds. For the Ducks, Joseph Young had 23 points and 6 assists, and Dylan Brooks 14 points and 6 rebounds.
Prior to their trip to Eugene, the Buffs took on the Stanford Cardinal on Sunday at the Coors Event Center.
The Buffs were hoping to pick up some momentum before their trip. Let's see how they did. The score remains 0-0 for Colorado and Stanford until Askia Booker. He's going to pull up for the first 2 points of the game here. And then later on, the game is tied at 4-4, and Jerron Hopkins gets the steal from Brown and brings down the court looking for Collier, passing it, but then Collier behind the back pass to Josh Scott, who gets the dunk. He had 7 points on the night. Booker takes the 3 here and misses, but the play is not over as Xavier Johnson fights for the offensive board to get those 2 points. And then here we have Askia Booker shooting again, but Dustin Thomas gets the clutch 2-point tip shot. Buffs are up 18-12.
Fletcher passes it to Tori Miller, who fights off the defense for another 2 points. Buffs now lead 22-15. On to the second half. Booker's just taking his sweet time going down the court. Sets up an easy bucket for Josh Scott. That is just textbook teamwork right there. Now we're on to Stanford's Chasen Randall goes for the shot. Up. Michael Humphreys there to make the easy rebound, closing the Stanford gap. Now we're moving on to an easy bucket from freshman guard Dominic Collier, sealing a solid win for the Buffaloes. Let's take a look at that box score. Askia Booker for the Buffaloes had 17 points and 4 assists, and Xavier Johnson racked up 10 points with 13 rebounds. On the Stanford side, we had Stefan Nastich with 24 points and 7 rebounds, Chasen Randall racking up 14 points with 3 assists.
After sustaining 3 consecutive losses to UCLA, Utah, and Cal, the win was just what the Buffs needed. After the game, Tad and the players talked about how the team can use this win moving forward.
I mean, offensively, we still shot terribly, but defensive rebounding is what we always preach, so I'm glad we were able to come out here and do that and execute.
The recipe for winning is if you defend and you rebound at a high level, you give yourself a chance to win games. If you don't, you're going to be very reliable on your offense, and we all know offense can come and offense can go.
Despite the disappointments surrounding the men's basketball program this season, Josh Scott is one bright spot. The junior center was named to the top 15 watch list for the 2015 Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Center of the Year Award this week. The 15 candidates were decided upon by a committee of college basketball's top personnel. Scott joins 2 other Pac-12 centers on the list, Jacob Poeltl of Utah and Stefan Nastich of Stanford.
College basketball is at the peak of its season, and Buff fans across the country are curious to see how these final few games will play out.
And with the start of spring football, other curious minds are inquiring about the Colorado football program's future for next season. We have Andrew Hobner here in the studio with us to break down how the team will look this year in a very strange edition of Double Team.
It is very strange, but I'm happy to be here, Steve Mallory. It is a pleasure to be on this desk for Double Team. This seems like something new, so give me what you got. Let's get started.
You know, Andrew, I have a great question for you first. Out of all the recruits, who do you think will be an immediate starter on the team next year?
Man, that's tough because, frankly speaking, there really aren't that many. While you have Tim Lynott, who is an ESPN 300 recruit, arguably the top recruit of the entire class, he's probably going to be redshirted. And Coach Mack said about 15 plus of these recruits are going to be redshirted next season. Steven Montez, who we'll probably get to down the line, can't talk about this year's recruiting class without him, he will most likely be redshirted, and I frankly hope that he is. Guys that are, guards, guys like Dylan Middlemiss out of Colorado, they will all be redshirted. But the interesting thing is, Donald Gordon, Flash Gordon, one of the best names on the football team. Flash Gordon, I am making that the poster nickname of college football. 12 gauge for Cardell Jones, we got Flash Gordon. He and Patrick Carr are probably going to be the 2 guys that I would think would make an immediate impact to this team, mainly due to the fact that Coach Mack loves running a committee backfield. Last year, he had Phil Lindsay, Christian Powell, Tony Jones, Michael Atkins. Tony Jones has since graduated. Now that kind of energetic power speed combo runner, a guy that can catch passes out of the backfield, is no longer on the team. What you got is 2 more running backs right up the pipeline in Donald Gordon and Patrick Carr. Guys who probably can make an immediate impact as we start next season and hopefully into the spring as well.
You got some good points there, man. But I got to ask, you're talking about new players, you're talking about old players. Is there somebody that sticks out among the whole group as one person that you are the most excited for next year? Man, one bright star.
You gotta put me on the spot with that.
I gotta make you pick. I gotta make you pick. I'm sorry.
That's a tough question. There's a lot of things to be excited about. As we said, our freshman class is probably the biggest thing to be pumped about for this season. But you also have Nelson Spruce, who's coming back. Addison Gillum, who hopefully will be healthy, and we'll have Jim Leavitt, an NFL linebackers coach, coaching a kid who is a unanimous All-American freshman. And of course, you have Sefo Liufau, who after another year of development should be one of the better quarterbacks in the conference this season. But you have Shea Fields, and no one is really talking about this. Shea Fields, 50 receptions, 486 yards, and 4 touchdowns in his opener. He had the most receptions by a freshman at CU with 50. It was unbelievable. He also set the record for longest touchdown reception, mind you, with 75-yarder against Arizona. And I must say, he's a guy who, if he beefs up, he can fill that role left by Dede Goodson, that short yardage slant type receiver, and also provide the speed that CU has been missing since Paul Richardson was gone. And a bigger Shea Fields means a better offense for Colorado football next season.
Right, Andrew, and we hope Shea Fields has a great season this season. Let's talk about the quarterback position here. There's a lot of hype surrounding new quarterback Steven Montez. Do you think he's an immediate starter?
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm frankly hoping that Steven Montez can be a guy that will be redshirted and a guy that will take his time to develop. Colorado people always want better out of the next quarterback, and Steven Montez, if he redshirts, if he develops a year, he will be that guy who I think will provide a great future for the Buffs. Him and Sefo are very similar, and I think Sefo, really, it's his position to lose right now. Montez, while good, isn't the top guy. I'm very confident about the chances that this Buffs team has next season.
Great. Well, as long as we can do better than we did last year, then the season should be a success. Thanks, Andrew.
No problem, guys.
The CU football spring game will be on March 16th in Folsom Field and is going to be broadcast on Pac-12 networks. We've given you the scoop on the men's basketball team. Coming up, I'll fill you in on how Week 13 went for the Colorado women.
That's right, and Joey Prechtel is in studio to answer all of your burning Buffalo questions, so stay tuned.
Hey guys, don't go anywhere, and I will answer all your questions about CU sports, so stay tuned after the break.
Step right in and create something inspiring. Be motivated.
That was a good
be
first block.
compelled, Be excited. Be united. To think deeper and see farther. On the field, in the lab, above the earth, beside great minds. Create something that doesn't exist and question what does. You can, you will lead, exceed at the University of Colorado.
Inside each of us, there's a spark to push, to challenge, to lead, and create ideas that change everything. Reimagine, reinvent, rewrite the way you see the world. Achieve the unthinkable, solve the unsolvable, and create the unimaginable. Down the court, in the lab, above the earth, beside great minds, you can, you will ignite, unleash, excel at the University of Colorado.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Good nutrition can lead to great things. Find out how a healthy lifestyle can help your child succeed.
Just after our show last week, the Colorado women's basketball team met the Washington State Cougars in the Coors Event Center. The game would open a 4-game homestand in Boulder after Linda Lappy and her Buffs lost 2 games on the road in Southern California. In Friday's matchup, Colorado held Washington State to 32% shooting and committed only 15 turnovers. The Buffs stifled the Cougars' offense early and continued to dominate by out-rebounding by 19. It wasn't the best shooting night for the Buffs, but they pulled out a 72-51 win in the Coors Event Center. Jen Reese led the Buffs with 14 points, and Lexi Kressel wasn't far behind, recording 12 points and 4 assists. Coming off its impressive win in Pullman, Colorado was confident heading into the game against Pac-12 women's basketball leading scorer Kelsey Plum and her Washington State Huskies. Plum quickly put that confidence to bed, scoring 28 points on the night. The Buffs had a poor shooting night with only Jamie Swan making it to the double digits with 12 points. The Buffs trailed the entire game but cut to 10 with less than 10 minutes remaining in the second half. Washington went on a 14-6 run to put the Buffs away. The final score of that game was Washington 79, Colorado 67.
We've given you the lowdown on men's and women's basketball over the last week, but there are way more questions to be answered. SportsMag's Joey Prechtel has scoured social media high and low to find the most inquisitive of these questions and is in studio today to give you Buff fans the hard truth in this week's Buff Banter.
Welcome to this week's edition of Buff Banter. My name's Joey Prechtel, and I'm here to answer your questions from our Twitter page. This week, I'm going to answer some questions about women's b-ball and women's lacrosse. Our first question comes from Cody Cassidy, and he asks, why has the women's team struggled this season? Well, Cody, going into conference play, the Buffs were 7-4, and that's where the struggles actually started. The team has failed to gain any consistency throughout the season. They opened up 6-1, but since then, they are just 5-13, and just 4-10 against the rest of the Pac-12, and 2 of those wins came against Utah, who sit at the bottom of the conference standings. Also, it didn't help losing their best player before the season began in Ariel Robertson. Her presence has been missed as a reliable scorer, as this team can't quite seem to close out games. And in a talented conference like the Pac-12, that's crucial. Transitioning to women's lacrosse now, our next question comes from David Starcer, and he asks, how will the women's lacrosse team do in their second year? Good question, David. Well, head coach Ann Elliott did a great job in the team's inaugural season last year. The team finished tied for 3rd overall in the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation with a record of 11-8, going 6-3 in conference play. The Buffaloes had a young team last season, and they still do. However, they were returning 19 from last year's roster, including all 12 starters. In addition to that, Elliott has added 12 new recruits to this team. Now I'm hopeful for this season based off their performance against DU. I realize they lost, but they played much tougher against them this season than last year, showing how much they really have improved. And on to our final question from former SportsMagger himself, Scott Oberto. Who should we look to play well this year? Scott, the simplest way to answer this is one word, Fusco. Yes, the one and only Jonna Fusco. She is coming off a freshman season for the ages. She practically led the team in every category. Are you ready? Points, goals, shots on goal, assists, and shots attempted. The team is just 2 games into the season, and she already has 7 goals and 2 assists. Last season, she was ranked in the top 5 amongst freshmen for most points. She has the potential to take this team to heights that weren't imagined before. And that's all the time we have for this week's edition of Buff Banner. I'm Joey Prechtel. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Joey. Insightful answers as always. If you have a question that you didn't get answered or would like to give our friend Joey here some feedback, tweet us at CU SportsMag or catch up with us on Facebook. Submit your questions by Thursday evening and you might just get your question answered on the air the next day.
Buff fans, it is now time to quiz you on your knowledge of past and present CU athletics. This week our mindset is on rivalries, and we want to know how well versed you are in the history of Colorado's deepest rivalries. So this week we're asking, who kidnapped Ralphie in 1970? Don't Google it, don't Bing it, don't even ask Jeeves. I'll even give you a hint, not even a ram would try this at home. We'll get you the answer later on in the show, but in the meantime, you can tweet your guesses to @CU SportsMag.
It's been a long week with plenty of highs and lows, or woes and woes. Our first woe, the good one, goes to junior center Josh Scott. Since he missed 8 of 9 games in January, the Monument, Colorado native has been a force in his 4 games that he's been back in the month. In the month of February, Scott has averaged 11 points and 10.5 rebounds. That is the best 4-game span for Scott since late November, when he averaged 18 points and 8.25 rebounds. Over that stretch, Scott will need to be at his best for the last 5 games of the season, which includes a home game against number 7 Arizona. Unfortunately, it wasn't all good news for the Colorado sports program this week. The women's basketball split the first 2 games of their home trip, but dropped the second to the University of Washington 79-67. With 4 games left in the season, it will only get tougher for the Buffs, who have number 7 Oregon State and number 12 Arizona State left to play. We wish success for all our Buffs in the coming weeks.
When we return, SportsMag correspondent Allie Monroy hit the streets of Boulder to ask students the hard-hitting questions we've all been wondering.
That's right, and Colorado football is back in action. We'll give you a look at the new recruits and familiar faces after the break.
CU students who join the Peace Corps are usually very adventurous people, very outdoorsy. They usually are very caring, very passionate people.
For the second year in a row, CU Boulder has outproduced all other universities in the nation, both big and small, in the number of alumni who are serving as Peace Corps volunteers. That's a very, very important thing for us.
Peace Corps continues to be the gold standard for international volunteer service. It's Americans making a difference around the world, and many of those Americans have come from this great university.
I'm not sure if it's a beautiful setting or the mountains or the weather, but one thing's for sure, there's a special civic pride on this campus.
The great spirit of volunteerism here on campus and internationalism that you find here really just kind of brings Peace Corps out a little more than it does on other campuses, I think.
You should be very proud to come from a campus that inspires so much public service and collectively works to build a better world.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, how was your weekend? Oh, have you studied for jogging?
pay attention. It matters.
The University of Colorado tennis team made its debut in the Intercollegiate Tennis Association rankings this week. The team is currently ranked 68 in the nation. The honor comes from the Buffaloes' 6-1 start to their season. That's the best start the Colorado tennis program has seen under the leadership of head coach Nicole Keenly. The Buffs join 8 other Pac-12 schools in the top 75 programs, the highest of which is UCLA, holding the number 4 spot.
Another Colorado team had a busy Valentine's Day weekend. Colorado Track and Field traveled to Seattle to compete in the University of Washington Open. A number of Buffs walked away with solid performances, though none topped their competition. Junior Brady Rutt recorded a third-place finish in the weight throw. On the women's side, junior Sophie Hallam-Earns earned up 4th place. The Buffs also had nice showings in shot put, high jump, and hurdles.
The University of Colorado soccer team announced this week that it will host 3 different summer camps between the months of June and July. The coaching staff of each camp will be made up of the nation's top youth and collegiate men's and women's coaches, in addition to current and former Colorado players. The residential camp, which is open to boys and girls ages 10 to 18, will take place between June 6th and 9th. The Mini Buffs half-day camp is open to boys and girls ages 4 to 6 and will run from June 1st through the 5th. The Little Buffs all-day camp is scheduled for July 27th through the 31st and is open to boys and girls ages 7 to 12. Monday marked the start of Colorado spring football. The first practice of the spring season is usually conducted outside in the Boulder sunshine, but this year, snow sent the Buffs back into the bubble. Head coach Mike McIntyre was out in full force with his Buffaloes. Newly hired defensive coordinator Jim Leavitt has acclimated quickly to the new environment and had the defense hard at work. By his side was newly hired assistant Joe Tumpkin, who has running drills with the Colorado Safeties. You can see the progress made on March 15th in Folsom Field at the annual spring exhibition game.
It's been a while since my all-time favorite Sports Mag segment has made an appearance, but this week I am proud to say that Man on the Street has finally returned. Sports Mag's own Ali Monroy hit campus to ask students and fans alike the difficult questions that no one else dares to pose.
Thanks, guys. I'm Ali Monroy, and we're here at the UMC asking some of our fellow Buffs what they think about our basketball and football team.
Everybody's entitled to their opinions? Sure.
It probably wasn't very good PR, but it shows that he cares about his game more than what his game will achieve for him.
I think that's not a nice thing to say. It's kind of rude.
Nope, I heard it's pretty bad.
Not winning.
13-12.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go see you.
I thought we were going to be pretty good because we did pretty good last year, but I mean, there's worse out there.
Well, last year we were really good, so I thought that we would be really good this year.
I expect some improvement just because, like, you learn from your mistakes.
I've really liked seeing what McIntyre's done with the program. I don't know. I don't really have any expectations for him to keep doing what he's doing. Lou Fowl, get a lot better with the passing game, I guess.
I don't know players' names, so.
Go Buffs!
Seems like our men's basketball team has disappointed a few of our fellow Buffs. Hopefully the football team will pick it up and give us something all to look forward to. This has been Man on the Street with Ali Monroy. Now back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Ali. Nothing quite like talking to the fans. Colorado fans always have such insightful thoughts and predictions, don't they, Mallory?
Some might call it that. Anyway, remember that trivia question I asked you earlier? Well, finish racking your brains because when we return, I'll get you the answer.
It's a good one. And I hope you've got a fire extinguisher handy because the hottest segment in the Rockies is coming right at you. Don't go anywhere.
Oh God. Sorry, that jump wasn't very good, but rapid fire will be, so stay tuned.
You believe this guy?
Are you trying to start a wildfire?
Sorry. Pass the honey?
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
This house was almost saved from a fire that was almost put out by neighbors who almost volunteered. As generous a nation as we are, sometimes instead of giving, we almost give. But almost giving is the same as not giving at all.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're gonna beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a
One
dad
more
today.
time. Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
What lies in store for the Buffs? I don't know. I'm no fortune teller yet. But Denora Avendano-Curiel does know who they're playing this upcoming weekend, and she's here to give you a preview of what's coming up in this week's Rapid Fire.
Hello, Buff fans, and welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire. My name is Dinora Avendano-Curiel, and I'm here to tell you and keep you up to date about CU sports, so let's get started. First, we've got the women's basketball team versus Oregon State right here at the heart of Boulder, February 20th at 6:30 p.m. The key to success is going to be to disrupt and attack. It should be a great game. Next, we've got tennis, the tennis team. That's right, they are going against Nevada, again, right here in Boulder, Colorado, Saturday, February 21st at 11 a.m. They've been doing a great job winning some of their last matches, so let's make sure that they maintain their lead. We continue on to our men's basketball team. They will be playing at Oregon State Saturday, February 21st at 9 p.m. Coach Tad Boyle has been wanting the boys to finish those possessions, so as long as they do that, we can get those wins. And finally, we've got the Anchorage, Alaska Invitational for our ski team, so make sure you guys are tuning in for our team. This is all the time we've got. Anyways, back to you guys at the desk.
All right, put down those pencils. Time is up. I'm going to give you the answer to this week's trivia question. In case you forgot, I asked, who kidnapped Ralphie in 1970? And the answer is, drum roll please, the Air Force Academy. Because of incidents like that one, the location of Ralphie is no longer publicly disclosed. Only her handlers know where she resides.
As you all know, we here at Sports Mag love our social media, so we're happy to bring you this week's very special Tweet of the Week, courtesy of CU football player Wes Christensen. He tweets, "Having a crush is like having a rock in your shoe. You stop and shake it out, but a half an hour later, you feel it there and you're like, oh no." We wish Wes the best of luck in his current predicament, and I mean, he's got a point, Mallory. We've all been there before.
Oh yeah, you know, getting a rock in your shoe is pretty annoying.
And I do like what he's doing with the whole crush rock thing. And I mean, I
That's
think that's all the time we have for today, Mallory.
Right. Buff fans, have an enjoyable weekend. We'll see you next week.
Be safe out there.